Improving the takeoff and landing capabilities of aircraft has always been the goal of aviation designers. Large aircraft often have higher requirements for runways due to their own weight and wing lift coefficients. Whether they have the ability to take off and land at simple airports is one of the important indicators to evaluate the pros and cons of a large military aircraft. In order to obtain this capability, the Soviet Union conducted a series of very interesting experiments which involved installing inflatable cushions on the aircraft. In the late 1950s, the Soviet Union successfully developed the An-14 twin-engine light multi-purpose aircraft, which was originally planned to replace the increasingly old and classic An-2. The chubby An-14 looks quite outstanding in terms of performance, with a takeoff distance of only over 100 meters and a landing distance of only 110 meters. The aircraft is easy to control, and an ordinary pilot can operate it after a few hours of training. In the early 1960s, the Soviet Union conducted a large number of flight tests on the An-14, including takeoff and landing in harsh terrain. Soon, the designers came up with a more daring idea, which was to replace the landing gear of the An-14 with an air cushion, and thus, the An-714 was born. The An-714 was launched in the autumn of 1970, with no changes in its body and structure. The original 3 landing gears were replaced with air cushion structures similar to hovercrafts. These cushions were made of rubber and fabric and were circular in shape. The working principle of the air cushion landing gear is similar to that of a hovercraft. There is a 22-horsepower GM36 hydraulic motor above each landing gear, which drives a centrifugal rotor to inflate the annular airbag during takeoff and landing. The An-714 conducted its maiden flight on October 20, 1970, and the overall results were quite optimistic. The ground pressure of the air cushion landing gear was much lower than that of the wheeled landing gear, allowing it to take off after a 117-meter run on a concrete runway and a 130-meter run on snow 30-40 centimeters thick. With the success of the An-714, Soviet designers subsequently designed a more radical air cushion landing gear aircraft known as the An-14Sh, which used a larger air cushion structure. Based on the An-14, the An-14Sh was still modified, with a large air cushion installed on the underside of the aircraft, protruding beyond the front and rear of the fuselage, giving the appearance of an additional fuselage under the belly of the aircraft. Unlike the An-714, the air cushion of the An-14Sh was inflated by a turbo engine, and the flexible airbags had the function of retraction to avoid increasing resistance during flight. The aircraft also retained its wheeled landing gear, allowing it to take off and land like a conventional aircraft. The air outlet below the annular airbag was equipped with a special liner, which allowed the air supplemented by the gas turbine to be uniformly jetted out. At the same time, wear-resistant protective devices were installed underneath, increasing the resistance to air circulation and reducing the output efficiency compared to the structure of the An-714, but increasing its durability. The test results of the An-14Sh were also satisfactory, with satisfactory operational stability at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. In the maiden flight in 1983, the aircraft flew at a height of 15-20 meters without shutting down the turbo engine, indicating that it also generated lift for the aircraft during flight. In comparison, the flight tests of the An-14Sh were not extensive, and it never even used the function of retracting the airbags. The entire project ended in 1986, but Soviet designers gained a wealth of experience, data, and technical knowledge from it, some of which were successfully applied to Soviet hovercrafts.